Infinite supreme peace to all the divine souls. Light speed and time dilation. The possibility that there might be more than one dimension of time has always been a subject of deep research in the field of modern physics. As of today, scientists have found many proofs which prove that the fact that in space flow of time is different in different dimensions. As per the time dilation theory, the speed of time in different dimensions above Earth is different. It has been found that the passage of time depends on the location of the observer and the speed of the experiencer observer. This is called time dilation, where passage of time slows down, less aging as one moves faster. If span of time is larger between two events, then passage of time is greater. That means aging will be more. In the Puranas, an incident of Balram, the elder brother of Sri Krishna, is mentioned about marrying the beautiful princess Revati, who along with her father had spent a few minutes in Brahmaloka, and by the time the duo had returned back to earth, 27 Chaturyugas had already passed on earth. As explained above, when 27 Chaturyugas elapses on earth, then only 19.53 minutes elapses in Brahmaloka. This clarifies that the passage of time on earth is many times greater than that on Brahmaloka. Along with this concept, there is one more factor called effect of gravity on time dilation, where time varies as gravity varies. Like time gravity is also a relative term. It is also the reason why passage of time is smaller for objects closer to the surface of the earth, where the effect of earth's gravity is maximum. One more example is passage of time is greater for people living on a mountain than those living at sea level. The passage of time on earth that we experience is many times greater than what we experience near a black hole. By this we can understand that as we get closer to a black hole, the passage of time slows down significantly compared to the flow of time far from the black hole, and near the black hole the slowing of time is extreme. According to Einstein's theory, any massive body in space produces this effect. In recent experiments and research on the speed of time, scientists found that time slows down in higher altitudes above the Earth's surface than on Earth. This is known as gravitational time dilation. It occurs whenever there is a difference in the strength of gravity, no matter how small that difference is. The earth has a lot of mass and therefore a lot of gravity, so it bends space and time enough to be measured. When a person gets further away from the earth's surface by even just a few meters, then the gravitational force of earth on that person becomes weaker, and accordingly passage of time reduces as compared to earth. There have been many interesting experiments conducted for many years, and one noteworthy example is the famous October 1971 Heffel-Keating experiment at the United States Naval Observatory. In this experiment, to the theory of relativity of time, 4 atomic clocks were taken aboard commercial airlines to rest time dilation. They made airline flights around the world in both directions, each circuit taking about 3 days. When they returned and compared their clocks with the clock of the observatory in Washington, D.C., it was found that the flown clocks had gained ahead about 10 nanoseconds, with an increase in every kilometer for each day elapsed on Earth relative to the observatory clock. Similarly, if we travel on a high-speed vehicle in space with a speed very close to the speed of light, then time appears to slow down. However, if we start traveling at the speed of light, then time slows down to a stop. This is known as special relativistic time dilation, where the faster the relative velocity, the greater the time dilation between one another, with time coming to a stop as one approaches the speed of light. In the case of astronauts living on the ISS, the International Space Station, gravitational time dilation takes place since they are floating about 260 miles above. Here, the Earth's gravitational pull is weaker than on its surface on the ground. This means passage of time should be slower in space for the astronauts as compared to people on Earth. However, the space station is also moving around the Earth at about 8.4 kilometers per second, which means time should also slow down for the astronauts relative to people on the surface. As a result, the astronauts end up aging slower than people on Earth, though the difference is very marginal. After spending 6 months on the ISS, astronauts would have aged about 0.005 seconds less than the people on Earth. As per Behad knowledge given by our most supremely knowledgeable Bapuji, he has explained that a soul is able to move to interspace due to the power of supreme light, Param Prakash, present in it, and the speed of traveling is determined by the power of the soul. Furthermore, the time in the creation is determined by the speed with which the soul moves. Therefore, it can be said that in space, time, speed, and the power inherent in the soul, all three are relative to each other. The proof of relativity between time, speed, and power of the soul can be noticed in the higher dimensions situated above the earth, where time flows at a very slow rate. For example, in the mind dimension, which is heaven of or Swargaloka, a day and night of the deities is a year on earth, so the time of the deities or devtas flows very slowly as compared to the time that passes on earth. Similarly, if we take the example of Lord Brahma's one day plus one night, the difference in speed of time is staggeringly large. A day of Brahma, including day and night, in Brahmaloka is equal to 8.64 billion years on earth. In Paramdham, the incorporeal world of Supreme God Shiva, a soul is not bound by the laws of time and experiences a timeless state of existence. Time and gravity in Paramdham may be considered as absolute for this Brahman. One may attribute this as an instance of gravitational time dilation, where the enormous gravitational power of the creator of this Brahman, Shiva, is so large that time does not flow here, almost relative to trillions of years passed on earth. Our universe, a scientific viewpoint. Our present age advancements in science and technology have been notably huge leaps in knowledge and consequently impacted the daily life of humankind as a whole, despite the fact that new innovations and technologies progress have given us all a life of ease as compared with the life of humans in the previous 100 years or so. We must be aware that in the process mankind has only moved away from nature. There is no doubt that scientific research and developments in technologies have given a lot of material prosperity to humankind, but we must also acknowledge that the negative impact of modern science has separated souls from spiritual science, creating an illusory world of objects and its false happiness. As a result, man has got lost in the world of sense objects, leading him to forget the true nature of a soul. As per scientists, a human being is nothing but a collection of atoms, structures of flesh and bones, and at the most an evolved animal in comparison to other species. However, we fail to realize the truth that man is not an animal at the highest point in the evolutionary ladder, but he is a divine being, albeit a fallen one. Whatever we can perceive with these physical eyes is just the physical body only, but we do not comprehend that the body of five elements is just an external covering of the eternal reality called the soul, which lies inside. In today's age, our understanding is limited only to the world of five senses, which is why we take the outer covering of the soul, physical body, as the only truth, and this is the main cause of all our problems. A question surely will arise here. Despite the magnificent intelligence that science has demonstrated in all fields, there is a distinct failure on the part of scientists to understand the soul and its workings. Why is it so? Further, all the world's renowned physicists have not been able to solve the mystery of dark matter and dark energy, to date, despite diligent researches made in this field. For example, the CERN laboratory, established in 1954 in Geneva, Switzerland, operates the largest particle physics laboratory in the world. It also contains the LHC Large Hadron Collider, set up in 2008 for enabling research into the fundamental structure of what the universe is made of and how it works. Yet one wonders, why is there no solid breakthrough on dark matter and dark energy? Until the day the question remains unanswered by science. From a spiritual viewpoint, the cause of this is very simple. Due to reliance only on physical instruments and gross material based experiments, the information obtained by scientists is highly limited in nature. The source of information obtained by the intellect is only through the world of sense and five elements. This is precisely the reason science is unable to penetrate into the heart of the invisible universe and find accurate answers. Its sole relativity on material based machines, instruments, and equipments would result in information about the gross material world only. Where is a person who follows the spiritual path by acquiring spiritual knowledge and engaging in meditation by focusing his consciousness in the Atman, and by consciousness practice will be able to uncover all the mysteries within himself. Here the buddhi, intellect, and mind are turned inwards by focusing only on the soul. Brahma, Satya, Jagat, Mithya is a concept in India Vedanta where Brahma or Paramatma, incorporeal supreme divine light, is considered the only eternal truth and the visible gross world as an illusion, since the soul is but a part of God Almighty, Paramatma. In effect, this means we carry the same divine truth within ourselves. It not by studying the physical phenomena of this physical world one will gain fruitful answers, but only by the power of the soul, by going deep within one's self in connecting with incorporeal form, Paramatma, Parameshwar. The mysteries of this universe and the entire creation will be revealed. The spiritual journey of a seeker to go within oneself to the Atman is the only solution available to science as of today. Nikola Tesla, the genius scientist, had said, "The day science begins to study non physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence." The unseen cosmic world is so subtle and vast that this gross world of name and form can see and understand only 0.01% or even less of the unseen reality. The material world is made of five elements: air, ether, fire, water, and earth. A day will come soon in near future when science will be able to view the unexplained parts of the universe and the creation etc. with the help of highly developed instruments made of refined elements known as supreme subtle elements. The material world is primarily based on the water and earth elements, which give shape and form to this physical reality. It is also the reason why we are unable to see with these physical eyes the countless number of ghosts and spirits around us, since they are in three elements subtle body made of ether, air, and fire elements. The reality of invisible world is multitude times more than the visible material world, and we have never been able to know much about it. The reason is that this unseen world is made of supreme elements, Param Akash Tattva, Param Vayu, and Param Agni Tattva, which are unknown to science. These elements of the invisible world are highly subtle, refined, and carriers of tremendous energy that one cannot view with physical devices nor comprehend by human intellect with physical scientific tools. So, this invisible world has remained hidden and inaccessible from any scientific research. The only possible way to know about or go into these non physical, supernatural, and subtle dimensions is through tools made of supreme elements and the devices composed of the supreme elements. In the last century, there have been many great scientists who had made immense contributions to science surprisingly without the aid of sophisticated laboratories or expensive equipment. Albert Einstein is one of the prime examples of genuine as per his theory of general relativity. Massive objects warp, bend the space and time around them, and the effect of warp has on objects is what we call is gravity. In other words, gravity is a curving or warping of space as well as time. The more massive an object, the more it warps in the space around it. Further, the warping effect affects the measurements of time. We tend to think of time as ticking away at a steady rate, but just as gravity can stretch or warp space, it can also delay time since there is a difference in the strength of gravity at each place. The general theory of relativity given by Einstein in 1915 published year transformed theoretical physics and astronomy during the 20th century, giving physicists a totally new perspective, superseding a 200-year-old theory of classical machines of solid objects. The question is, how did Einstein understand and come to all these conclusions, which stand true even today? Without the help of any co-researcher or sophisticated laboratory for his findings, he used his wonderful power of imagination and visualization, and all of a sudden he invented the theory of relativity and equation E equal to mc square. Einstein had a typical method of focusing on his ideas and theory by closing his eyes and drifting away mentally to a different dimension, and by the way of his thoughts it would bring in new ideas to the world. Einstein basically had the whole theory in his mind, which he would solve and visualize in his thoughts itself. This process was much more accurate than cumbersome laboratory based experiments. Einstein called his methodology a thought experiment. An instance once when Einstein was to give a lecture at the Princeton University in the United States, the officials asked him for a list of items that he would require to prove his theory by way of an experiment, but he simply asked them to provide a blackboard, few chalks, a pencil, and few sheets of paper for writing. The university official was taken aback at the simple request and wondered as to how could Einstein possibly conduct his experiment with such few things. Nikola Tesla, in his book Man's Greatest Achievement, has stated, "My brain is only a receiver in the universe. There is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. I have not penetrated into the core, but I know that it exists." Nikola Tesla's brilliant inventions came through inspirational visions, which would suddenly flash in his mind, giving him the required information on his projects. While working on many new inventions due to his intuitive mind, Tesla would more than often receive a complete and clear picture, a vision in his mind about the exact shape, size, length, width, etc. of his invention. He is said to have envisioned complete diagrams of his inventions, known as picture thinking. He sometimes worked from his memory, not bothering to draw them. He never married and considered his celibacy as a great asset, due to which he could produce such amazing innovations. He had superhuman mental abilities which allowed him to think and analyze in his mind complex electrical machines and build them without taking any notes. Tesla fully believed in the existence of aliens and had openly stated that he was in regular communication with aliens. He used to often remark in his interviews that scientists discuss many topics of science, but no one bothers to talk or investigate about their intuitions, which is most powerful. Usually, scientists perform experiments and, on the basis of the results derived from the experiments, they would state their theory. However, in all these great intelligent minds, one common feature was their ability to completely visualize the invention in their mind and then only put down the theory later. Further, after having worked out the theory, they would proceed to conduct the necessary experiments based on the theory. Bapuji explains that such extraordinary brilliant scientists do not belong to Earth but come from higher dimensions like different galaxies, universes, etc. Their souls are part of a group of scientists who originally come from distant star systems, galaxies, or the universes and incarnate on our planet for the benefit of humankind. Such super intelligent alien civilizations are far more advanced than on Earth in terms of knowledge and technology. Interestingly enough, the scientist's soul who is on Earth is assisted by his group souls from the higher dimensions who inspire him on his work with visions. After taking birth on Earth, the soul does not remember any of the origins of the different civilization. He has to make great efforts to raise his memory to the forefront of his conscious mind so that he is able to clearly receive the messages sent by the group of scientists soul whom he belongs to and also to create any beneficial innovations based on these visions. For working on such difficult and original endeavors, scientists' souls avoid social interactions and prefer to lead a solitary life so that they can be in contact with their alien group. We can always notice how such a scientist will all of a sudden stop any other activities, become silent and drift away in the dimension of knowledge. Through his thoughts, the group souls from the other dimension inspire the scientist's soul through subtle rays, signals, or vibrations by giving an idea for an invention or an idea of a new concept. By inspiring through the rays, they give clarity about the new invention, informations, and the process involved in carrying out the invention. In a nutshell, one may say that the scientist's soul is under the guidance of his group souls who are situated in higher dimensions. Similarly, in other fields such as art and entertainment, we can find instances of inspired movies, television serials that depict life in the higher dimensions, other universes, or even have stories that show future events, etc. The producer, director, or script writers are inspired in their mind by the souls from the subtle world who send subtle rays that create the necessary imagination. Stephen Hawking, one of the greatest scientists, cosmologist, professor, and authors, had a debilitating motor neuron disease known as ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, detected in his early 20s, which slowly, over a period of many years, caused his body to lose its physical normal functions as if in a paralyzed condition. In fact, doctors had said he would probably survive for only 2 or 3 years. In the few years preceding his death in 2018, it was impossible for him to walk, talk, speak, swallow, and breathe, and over a period of time lost all speech functions and mobility. However, Dr. Hawking was able to retain his memory, intelligence, and personality even in the late stages of his disease. It is with the help of the alien souls from the subtle dimensions who sent rays on him. Occasionally, his brain could function effectively despite his failing body. These alien group souls initiated the development of a highly sophisticated technology, assistive technology, which helped Stephen Hawking to deliver lectures, speak to pupils, and spread his specialized knowledge to the world. His brain communicated his truth about the thesis to the receptive audience with the help of this technology. This technology was the medium through which Hawking remained active as a researcher and a scientist as well as in his personal life. It compensated for functional limitations due to ASL. In this way, Hawking would receive knowledge of his yet to be formulated theories from the subtle world through the thoughts in this brain. There are many scientists whose work has contributed towards the advancement of science, but it's an irony that with all their great achievements, these scientists have failed in one sense, that is their belief in God. Most of them, like Hawking for example, are atheists of semi-atheists, and their strong disbelief in God has passed on to their followers and admirers due to a single statement made by them. Such is the influence of these famous people on the average person that everyone also starts to imbibe the same wrong beliefs, and the whole culture, country, and their people tend to go towards the path of materialism, robbing man of his innate connection with the Supreme Creator. If a scientist makes any statement or remarks on spiritual matters, there is a profound effect on the general public and people change accordingly, whereas the teachings of an accomplished occult master, siddha, or a spiritual master is not taken seriously as it should be. So as we can see, the achievements of these brilliant scientists who were connected to their alien groups and through whom they received their inspiration as well as information of the process of any of their invention was not of their own. They were just a medium through which the subtle world souls get their work accomplished on earth for the advancement of humanity. However, the negative vibrations created on earth by these atheistic scientists is several times damaging effect than all the good done by them. It is because of their non-belief in spiritual power and lack of love or devotion to God. The views expressed by these scientists carry such a huge effect that at present a majority of people in the USA and Europe have become either atheists or agnostic. The present human soul has become so impressed with advancement of science and technology that their minds are now heavily conditioned with marvel of materialism. The words of a wise saint who gives knowledge from the Vedas, Upanishads, and talks about the subtle world are not paid attention to, whereas the scientists who discover small part of the secret of the Vedas and Upanishads and minuscule inventions from these eternal springs of spiritual knowledge become famous. Due to such materialistic scientists, the number of people who truly listen and believe to the words or of wisdom of a wise sages or saint has reduced significantly. 388 years ago, around year 1633, people used to believe that our earth is the center of our universal and the sun along with all the planets revolve around the earth. It was Galileo who discovered the fact that it is not the sun but the earth and the other planets that revolve around the sun. Whatever science has managed to discover with the help of physical equipment and tools in the last 150-200 years, our Indian rishis and sages munis had already discovered these scientific principles and theories several thousand years ago through the spiritual vision and power of meditation on God. Our astrological system and all manners are proofs of this acquired divine knowledge. Even our Shastras, scriptures have explained about infinite of the infinite solar systems being created millions and millions of years ago. Yet people choose to believe in the atheistic beliefs of these scientists. Lastly, we must always trust in the words of Paramatma and remember that a scientist can never take the place of the Supreme God. Thank you. Infinite Supreme Knowledge by our great grandfather.